So this is not ironically that I want to open up this beer and do a video for you guys talking through my experience for a couple things. One, and we'll start with this. I want to do this as an ongoing series for my 35th year of life. So we'll start off with a little cheers to 35. And before you say, wow, Derek, I can't believe you're just going right into having beer after doing a whole month plus of Sober October, I made it through my entire sober month. I wanted to just give myself a challenge of something different to do, to prove something new to myself, to see what I would learn. And boy, did I learn some stuff, let me tell you. I learned that my relationship with alcohol did need to change. Without having done those 30 days, I don't think my outlook on alcohol would have changed. It would have stayed exactly how it was. I would have consumed it the same way I did. And I am so happy to say that I learned so much about myself by not drinking for 31 days. Actually, it turned out to be like 35, 34, because I hadn't had a drink until a couple days into November. But the whole point of doing this video is to talk a bit about what I learned from not having beer. And I bought these. I bought 2 4-packs of these. I love this beer during this time of year, and it was really hard not to have it more often while I was just hanging out at home or watching shows at night with the wife or spending time celebrating with friends on certain and different occasions. Because what I found out was that I don't just have alcohol because I want to. That's part of the reason. But I also found out that I do sometimes utilize alcohol as a crutch. It's for the times I don't always want to deal with heavy emotions. I had a hard day at work, and maybe the day didn't turn out how I wanted to, or something's not happening the way I want to. It's easier to just crack open a beer, pour myself a cocktail, mix up a drink, sit back with a glass of wine, and not have to think about it. I used it as an emotional crutch. And it wasn't until one day, about 3 weeks in, that I was like, man, I could really use a drink. And then I asked myself, why? Why do I want to drink so bad? And it was because I didn't want to deal with the day. I didn't want to think about it. I wanted to be able to diffuse from it. Taking the time to be sober and get out of the mindset of having to drink or allowing myself even to drink forced that to erupt. It also taught me that I can put heavy values on things, and it might seem arbitrary, but the things that it actually shows through that are very telling of what's important. Let me explain. So as I was taking time away from drinking, I had a lot of friends that I would go out with, or we'd be at parties, or we'd be at their house, and they'd offer me a drink, and I'd say, no, I'm taking a Sober October. I'm just taking 31 days. It usually followed with, oh, I'm going to do Dry January. I'm like, cool, good for you. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing now. I'm not telling you need to do this. After having done it, I would suggest that people do it, but I don't think it needs to be at the beginning of the year. The reason I wanted to do it in October was also because it's October. Mostly because for me and my family, there's not much going on in October that warrants really having a drink. I had a lot of friends that when we were meeting up, they would offer a drink, and then if they didn't say, hey, I'm going to be doing a Dry January, good for you, they would say, oh, you won't break it for me? You won't just have one drink with me? Oh, you're going to keep going by yourself? And I said, yeah. Because having the control and the dominion over my need for alcohol is more important than having one beer with a friend out at a bar, or having a couple sips of scotch with someone at their house while we're playing games. You look at the power of alcohol and what it can do to frame our minds and how we view things as important, and it really shows the power of this as Tom Holland called it, this silly juice. Like, if you were to give people access to this at free reign and what it does to you without us necessarily even knowing all the time, it is a powerful substance. I would have never learned that I need to have better boundaries for myself around alcohol if I had not taken that time off. And now we don't have a ton of alcohol in the house anyway. But at most, we'll have a bottle of wine that once we open it, we're looking to finish it in 2 days. But it's also forcing me to drink with someone rather than by myself. And if I do decide to have a drink by myself, my new rule for myself, and I do really like this rule, is I only keep one beer in the fridge at a time. If there's a 6-pack of beer in the fridge, I will continue to go back because they're cold and they're refreshing. Because there's only one, I'll only have one. I'm not going to force myself a warm beer. I'm not going to force myself to put ice in my beer so that I can have a cold beer. The growth that comes from giving yourself a challenge, what you learn about yourself through hardship, through pushing through really showing your values. Because to me, it became so much more about, this is a challenge I want to complete and nothing's going to get in the way. Nothing is going to get in the way. I had a guy from college reach out to me on Instagram as I was posting some of what I was doing with this. And he said, I'm going to give it a shot with you. And as we were talking, we both found a new love for Liquid Death, which is a different beverage that's not alcoholic. It just looks like it's, in a tall beer can. It's good marketing, by the way. Liquid Death is great marketing. Their tea is amazing. But I digress. Taking the time to be off of this, to try it out with other people. I had so many people encouraging me also, like, why even bother going back to it? Is there any benefit for you of going back to it? And I didn't want to make this an end-all for having alcohol. This, for me, was more, let's give ourselves the experiment. So here I am, having completed my Sober October, and I gotta tell you, if you want to give a challenge for yourself a shot, it's definitely something worth doing. And as I slowly nurse this beer, a lot of the conversation of what I want to do now is a new challenge for myself that's going more than just a month. I turned 35 just last week, and I got a little cold from being out of town with some friends and really colleagues. We were on a work trip celebrating, and 35 leading up to it was really hitting me in a very strange way. I think because so much of my life, I had an idea of what I wanted and how I wanted to be and what I was going to do, that I had a really hard and fast trajectory that I had been going on for 6, 7, 8 years. COVID, getting married, moving 3, 4 times within the course of a couple years, really shifted my viewpoint on a lot of things. And I came to find that the beginning of 2023, so many of the things that I really thought I enjoyed or cared about just didn't matter to me anymore. I had been a martial artist for 10 years almost, and that just wasn't hitting a button anymore. I was very into video games. I'd play Smash Bros. and Zelda almost religiously. And then after beating Tears of the Kingdom earlier this year, I just got bored with video games. I started working out. My clothes didn't fit anymore, and I found that my style had changed a lot. I grew a beard. Well, I guess you can call it a beard. I like to call it a beard. And between my shifts to New York City, down to South Florida now, and in and out of New Jersey from where I grew up for a long time, so many things in my life had changed that I was scared, if I'm honest, of what 35 was then going to bring. But it left me saying, what the fuck? What the fuck is 35? WTF 35. But I wanted to change that mindset for myself. So this is going to be the first weekly video that I'm going to do, hoping to be about 15 to 20 minutes at most, just welcoming 35. Reframing what WTF actually says, welcoming 35. I am starting my 35th year, which if I think about a midlife crisis, this is about when it would hit. 70 would be about when I would retire, maybe, if things stay the same, who knows? And the world is changing so much around me all the time, around my wife, around my brother-in-law and his kids and his wife, for my sister, for my parents. And with all of those life changes comes new changes that I need to make. There are things that I will always have an affinity for. Macaroni and cheese, the Ninja Turtles, and yes, if there's a new Smash Bros. Game, I will buy the next Nintendo. That doesn't mean that those things define who I am. This is now and will perpetually be a season of learning what it means to now live in this new life that I'm living. Scientifically, I found this fact fascinating, and I actually just put this together now. Every 7 years, all of the cells of your body have completely changed. So you are, in fact, a new person. I believe it's Percy's ship, right? If you were to take the panels off and you were to give it a new mainsail, and if you were to give it a new oars and a new mast and new rudders and all that, at what point is it no longer Perseus's ship? And at what point is it a new ship? Does it always stay the same? Somehow, with everything changing, I am still Derek, the essence of Cowabunga. It's just a life I want to live. It's teaching me to live more free, to live in a perpetual state of learning, to be aware and open to the things that are going to come down my path. But that doesn't mean that the things of my past aren't worth something, but it does mean that I get to look forward a bit more. Welcoming 35 is also about moving into, God willing, a new stage in life where I'm finding the strides that I'm making between my career, between things I'm doing online, between things I'm doing in my fitness and my health, to build into the next 35 years being more rich than the first 35 were. And I hope that throughout this, you can enjoy some time with me online while I learn and grow with you. And guys, if this is worth anything to you, if you want to follow along, please subscribe. This will be a weekly video that I put out, regardless of how many views and shares, likes, comments, anything that it gets. This is just something that I don't think men talk about enough. And if we're really honest, being vulnerable as a man, emotionally especially, is really hard. And I hope that this becomes an avenue for people to realize that emotional expression in masculinity is a good thing. And until next time, I will be finishing this pumpkin. I will be heading back to doing some things that I need to get done today. I hope that you stay blessed, and I hope to see you next time.